Hello, this is Benjamin's Box by Melody Carlson, pictures by Jack Stockman, and we are on part 7. Part 7, let's see. I'm getting to the right page. I've already done all of those. We're getting there. We're getting close to the end, aren't we? We're getting closer and closer to the happy ending, but we have to go through the really sad parts first. This page is called The Nail. Let me see, I want to hold the book where you can see the picture, and then I still need to see the words. The Nail. Benjamin, called Eli, have you heard? Jesus is to be crucified. No, cried Benjamin. He's done nothing to deserve that. So crucified is the word for a way that in the ancient times, not anymore, they would nail someone to a cross to kill them as a punishment. Doesn't happen anymore. Eli frowned. My father says that only the worst criminals are put to death on a cross. Benjamin went inside and sat in a dark corner of his house. He did not want to talk or even to think about the sad, sad news. But in his mind, he could still see the evil men hurting Jesus. I must go, he finally said aloud. If this is partly my fault, I can at least be there. I can pray for him. Now remember, Benjamin feels guilty because he told Judas Iscariot that the leaders were giving money for someone to betray him. And then Judas Iscariot was the one who betrayed Jesus. So Benjamin is worried that it might be his fault. The truth is, it's all of our fault because we all do bad things. But Jesus did it willingly because he loves us. Okay, so Benjamin said, I can at least be there. I can pray for him. And that is something that we can all do. Anytime there's a big problem and we don't know how to help, praying is a real way to help. He's going to pray for him. Where are you going? Asked his mother as he opened the door. And he said, to help a friend. And she nodded and touched his cheek. As Benjamin climbed the hill, he found a large spike. It was like those that the Romans used to nail criminals to crosses. Now see, I have here a big nail. It's not as big as the ones they would have had to use on the cross, but it was just a nail they put right through him. They had to use at least 3. Benjamin tucked the nail in his tunic and continued on. 3 crosses stood at the top of the hill, but he could not force his eyes to look upon his friend. See, there were 3. Jesus was in the middle, and then these were real bad guys. They were robbers. Benjamin noticed a small group of people apart from the larger crowd. He knew they were Jesus' dearest friends. So Benjamin sat near them and bowed to pray. But the only words that came were, I'm sorry, God. I'm so sorry. And I'm going to read 2 pages today because, again, he didn't put anything in his box yet. This page says, the die and the spear. Here's Benjamin looking at his box. He looks so sad. Benjamin watched as soldiers gambled for Jesus' clothes. He tried to shut his ears to their cruel remarks. Cruel means really mean. Finally, he forced himself to look up. Benjamin looked into Jesus' eyes, and he saw such sorrow and pain that it cut to his heart. Sorrow means deep, deep sadness. Jesus was very sad when he was on the cross, but he wasn't angry. But Benjamin also saw love in Jesus' eyes. And like before, Jesus looked right at Benjamin. Surely this was his way of saying all would be well. Perhaps Jesus would even do a miracle. But instead, the sky turned dark, and Jesus cried out, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. The ground shook, and Jesus breathed his last breath. Benjamin was stunned. Jesus was dead. As if in a dream, Benjamin heard the people moving about. He saw a soldier pierce his friend's side with a spear. That's like a sword. People hurried to take down crosses and bodies before the Sabbath began, so they wanted to do it before it got dark on Friday night. Soon they were gone, and Benjamin was alone. He picked up a stone that the soldiers had gambled with and looked up at the dark sky. Why had God allowed it? Later that night, Benjamin opened his treasure box and placed the nail and the gambling stone inside. He looked at his collection. It had seemed so valuable when he believed that Jesus was the king, but now the strange items only filled him with unbearable sadness. Okay, I keep telling you there are sad parts before the happy ending, and we are at the very saddest point right now. So I've got my box. Here's my little wooden box. And inside are all the things we've been reading about in this book. So you know why I have a big nail. This big nail is to remind us that they nailed Jesus to the cross. And I'm also going to put in a die, right? More than one are called dice, but one is called a die. And they didn't really talk about why Benjamin found a gambling stone. One of the things that happened to Jesus was that they took off most of his clothes when they put him on the cross, and they were still pretty nice. And so some of the soldiers wanted his clothes. And so, believe it or not, they actually rolled dice, or something kind of like a die, to decide who got to keep his clothes. And so that's why we have this one as part of the story. Jesus, not only did they kill him and hurt him with the whips and the thorns, but they also did everything they could to humiliate him, to hurt his feelings badly, right? They made fun of him. They called him the king, but then they gave him a ripped up old cloak or cape. They gave him a crown that hurt him, and they even took away his clothes. He was embarrassed and hurt, and then he died. But it gets better in the next video, I think. Okay? See you next time.